I still hear the low growl echoing in my bones, and that hulking shadow, bigger than any man, lurking just beyond the patrol lights. No amount of training could have prepared me for what I faced that night. Nightbound Bloodline presents 10 night patrol officers who recorded the impossible, real leaking footage. What you are about to hear are first-hand accounts from 10 night patrol officers, men and women bound by duty, bound by skepticism, who encountered something impossible on their beats. They recorded their encounters, footage that defies explanation, footage that challenges everything we believe about the creatures that may dwell in the shadows beneath the blood moon. These stories come unfiltered and uncensored. They are real. The Witness Story 1. I'm James Carter, 34 years old, a Forest Patrol officer in the Pacific Northwest. I've been with the department for nearly a decade now. Usually, hearing strange noises or spotting deer is part of the job, nothing more. I'm not one for ghost stories or monster tales. I'm a see-it-to-believe-it guy, and up until that night, I believed nothing but what my eyes could firmly prove. It was just past midnight in late October, the air sharp and cold with frost settling on the pine needles. My shift started at 10 p.m., and the forest was unusually quiet, the usual rustling of wildlife replaced by a thick, unnatural silence. The moon hung low and red, bleeding its light through the branches like a warning. I was making my routine rounds along the east perimeter, the glow of my headlamp slicing through the dark. The scent of damp earth mixed with the faint, sour tang of decomposing leaves filled the air. But there was another smell too, a musky, wet fur odor, like something large and wild was moving close by. I stopped and listened. Nothing. Then, a crack, twig snapping. Just a small sound, but enough to stop my breath. Not the usual scatter of small animals. These were deeper, heavier steps. Uneven. Slow. They stopped when I froze, as though whoever it was knew I was there, but wanted me to know they weren't an accident. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Then came the smell again, stronger this time, almost putrid, like wet fur mixed with rot. And then I saw it. At first, just a silhouette between two trees, but there was no mistaking the shape. It stood upright on two legs, easily over 7 feet tall, muscles rippling beneath dark, bristly fur that almost shimmered under the crimson light of the blood moon. Its head was elongated, snout more pronounced than any wolf I'd known. The eyes, bright amber, held an unsettling intelligence, a hunger that wasn't animal nor entirely human. Its movements were fluid, almost predatory, shifting from side to side like it was sizing me up. The claws, thick and curved, scraped the bark as it stepped forward. This wasn't any animal I recognized. It was too large, too deliberate. The way it carried itself, half man, half beast, a perfect predator in its domain. For what felt like minutes, it just watched me, unblinking. Then it started moving, slowly, circling me like a hunter teasing its prey. I dropped to a crouch behind a fallen log, heart hammering in my chest, every nerve screaming to run, yet frozen in place. Suddenly, it let out a low, guttural growl, not a howl, more a warning. Then came the sharp knocking, 3 distinct raps on a tree trunk behind me. It was deliberate, almost as if it was communicating, testing my response. Paralyzed, I dared not respond. The thing stepped between the trees again, blocking any path I might take, and stared deeper into my eyes, its gaze piercing like fire. I don't remember exactly how I broke free. Whether it was luck or the creature's own choice, it vanished into the shadows. I sprinted back to my truck, hands shaking, sweat cold despite the chill. I watched the footage from my body cam over and over. The shape, the eyes, the claw marks on trees, proof that something impossible had been there. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. That night changed everything. I don't patrol those woods alone anymore. And I never, ever look at the forest the same way. The thing out there isn't folklore, it's real. The Witness Story 2. My name's Maria Sanchez, I'm 29, and I work highway patrol along a stretch of remote countryside that, on most nights, is so empty it feels like another world. I never cared much for tall tales. In fact, before last winter, I would have rolled my eyes at anyone talking about monsters. But what I saw made me question everything. It was early January, bitter wind whistling over the frozen fields. I was stationed at mile marker 218, parked in my cruiser, logging radar readings and listening to the static-laden dispatch. The sky was black except for the blood moon, hanging low and swollen above the frost-bitten landscape. My breath steamed in the cold, mingled with the scent of distant wood smoke and diesel fuel. Around 2:30 a.m., my dashboard camera picked up movement behind my headlights, something huge darting across the asphalt. I shrugged it off, probably a stag. But when I stepped out to investigate, the air felt wrong. A heavy odor of musk and rot, almost choking in the night. My boots crunched on the ice. Suddenly, every sound I made felt amplified. The scrape of leather, the click of my flashlight. The silence clung to me like a wet blanket. Then the movement started, something pacing the edge of the tree line. I'd walk, it'd stop. I'd pause, heart pounding. It'd breathe, deep and loud, echoing the shallow rhythm of my own fear. I swung my beam to the right. There, towering between the brambles, was a creature I couldn't explain. It stood hunched, almost 8 feet tall, bristling with thick, ash-colored fur streaked black as tar. The head was wolfish, but jaws broader than any canine, teeth exposed in a snarl that belonged on nightmares, not in nature. Those eyes, deep gold, glinting, locked onto mine. They held something I'd never seen in any animal: calculation. It shifted forward on clawed feet, the pads splaying over frozen grass. The shoulders were massive, front paws nearly hands, capable of grasping and, God help me, tearing. With each step I took back, it advanced, careful, never breaking eye contact. There was a low rumble, like distant thunder, coming from its chest. I felt trapped, pinned by that gaze. Suddenly, it stopped and sniffed the air, nostrils flaring. It bent, almost as if to inspect my footprints, then mimicked my earlier cough, a guttural, chilling sound. I knew then this wasn't just a beast. It was aware, thinking. I scrambled toward the cruiser, fumbling keys, the camera catching a blurry glimpse as the creature snapped a thick branch in its fist, sharp as a warning. I dove into the car, locked the doors, and didn't look back. I couldn't stop shaking, my hands, my breath, my chest. For weeks, even the sound of a car door slamming would send me into a panic. I'll never patrol that stretch alone again. I burned copies of that dashcam footage. They called it a trick of the light. But I know what's out there under the blood moon. The Witness Story 3. Names David and Gwen. I'm 41 and have worked night security for a small mountain town for nearly 15 years. I'm not superstitious. Never have been. I like facts, clarity, answers. I figured I'd seen it all until 2 months ago. March, just after midnight. Most folks in town are asleep, but the old place creaks and moans, throwing odd shapes in the amber streetlights. Yard dogs barked more than usual. The air was thick with pine and something else, sweet, sickly, like overripe fruit and old meat. I did my rounds, flashlight in hand, wind biting my cheeks. As I turned the corner behind the hardware store, the lights glitched, plunging me into deeper shadow. That's when the unease hit, the feeling that something was out there, watching, waiting. I started hearing footsteps on loose gravel, too heavy for a person, and stopped dead. The sounds mirrored mine, halting when I did. All the hairs on my arms stood on end. My instincts screamed run, but my legs locked. Out of the alley's darkness, it emerged, massive, black-furred, built like a linebacker but covered in shaggy hide. Its snout was long, nostrils flaring in the cold. Eyes like molten silver scanned me, head tilted with unnerving, almost human curiosity. It stood up, shoulders hunched, then flexed clawed fingers. Its breathing was deep, visible in the cold, like a furnace inside. I should have run. I couldn't. It crept forward for what felt like forever, sniffing the air, lips curled. It raised its head and let out a low, warbling howl, so close the vibration rattled my ribs. Then it lunged, not at me, but at my flashlight, knocking it from my grip. I stumbled backwards, fell hard against the brick wall. It stared, eyes narrowing, then vanished just as suddenly as it appeared. I bolted for the lit streets, chest burning and heart pounding out of rhythm. The security cameras from that night caught glimpses, fuzzy shapes, too big, too fast, too real. No one believes me. I don't care. I know what's out there, and something in this town isn't human. Not under a blood moon. The Witness Story 4. I'm Clark Johnson, 38. I work nights at the city park, keeping an eye on the old walking trails when the bars spill out and the joggers have long gone home. Never put much faith in monsters. Not with half my career breaking up parties and chasing raccoons off playgrounds. But there are things you see that never let you go. This happened last summer, after midnight. The air was thick, humid, the kind that clings to your skin and blurs shadows into one another. Streetlights flickered weakly against the cover of leaves, and the distant rumble of thunder threatened rain that stalled over the city. I did my rounds, flashlight beam bouncing between gnarled roots and the shimmer of dew. The park was empty, or so I thought. There was a heaviness to the silence, broken only by the occasional shuffle or distant call of a night bird. But then a branch snapped, a sound too deliberate, too controlled for an animal. I turned, saw nothing, but felt it, the sense that eyes were pressing against my back. That's when I caught the scent, wet dog, mixed with something sour, like stagnant water and old blood. I saw it standing at the edge of the playground, beside the swings. Light caught the fur, jet black, shoulders hunched high, the head elongated with a steep brow that shadowed deep-set crimson eyes. It moved with unsettling grace, upright, chest heaving as if hiding some great force. The fur clumped with mud and leaves, snout twitching with every breath. The body was wider than a man's, legs powerful, the hands, yes, hands, ended in claws that looked sharp enough to tear steel. It locked eyes with me, and for a moment, it tilted its head and let out this almost mournful whine. Then it began circling around the swings, never taking those eyes off mine. Panic rooted me in place. My mouth went dry. It kept its distance, tracing a deliberate path that blocked my way between me and the exit. When I finally moved, it matched each step, mirroring my motion, testing, waiting. My legs finally listened and broke into a sprint. I bolted for the nearest exit, stumbling over roots and up the cracked concrete path. I didn't look back. That night, every light in my home stayed on. Even now, walking those trails, I feel like I'm being watched. People say city monsters are just drunks in costumes. But under the blood moon, the shadows showed me something the morning can't explain. The Witness Story 5. My name is Eric Martinez, 45 years old, and I've worked the lakeshore for over 20 years. Most nights, it's fishermen, midnight swimmers, sometimes the odd trespasser. I never expected what happened on the water that night. It was a foggy September evening, the haze so thick my spotlight barely made it past the dock. The lake itself was eerie, still, reflecting that blood-red moon in ripples that almost looked alive. I was making rounds, checking boats, flashlight clicking with every step. There was a smell in the air, wet fur and algae mixed with something sickening, like turned milk. I heard splashes, heavy, not the usual light taps from fish or waterfowl. Something big was moving in the shallows but didn't reveal itself. The hairs on my arms bristled. The fog seemed to muffle every sound except for frantic, wet breathing. I froze as the water parted, a shape rising, black and slick, formatted with lakeweed. It moved onto the dock, water streaming off a massive, muscular body. The snout, long, sharp, bearing rows of jagged teeth, sniffed the damp planks. Its eyes glowed red, reflecting the moon's angry hue. Its claws dug into the wood, splintering the boards. No animal swims like that. No animal stands like that. It paced toward me, breath heavy, chest rising and falling. I stepped back, knees trembling. Suddenly, it stopped and sniffed the air, then let out a guttural sound, almost like a laugh. That laugh was the worst part. Not animal, not truly human, something in between. I staggered, dropped my flashlight, and it snatched it up with a clawed hand, sniffed, then tossed it into the lake. I ran blindly, lungs aching, heart pounding in terror. My report was written off as unidentified nocturnal animal. I kept a piece of dock wood it clawed, jagged marks that no known creature could make. That night never left me. I won't walk those docks after dark, not while the blood moon hangs over the water. The Witness Story 6. I'm Tara Wilson, 31, and I patrol the neighborhoods that come alive when the rest of the city sleeps. I'd always thought werewolves belonged in old movies, not in the everyday tangle of fences and houses where kids ride bikes and dogs chase cats. Late night in spring, air thick with the scent of blooming lilac and freshly cut grass. Streetlights buzzed softly. The world felt safe and small. Then the power went out. Quiet. Utterly, profoundly quiet. As I walked my route, something felt off. The dog that always barked at me hid beneath the porch, whimpering. I felt eyes, knew I was being watched. A heavy, animal smell drifted from an alleyway, wet fur and copper like blood. I shone my flashlight and caught sight of a hulking figure pressed between the trash bins. The creature was crouched low, mottled gray fur, limbs longer than any person's, hands braced like claws against the pavement. It jerked upright, face like a wolf but eyes glistening blue, intelligent, angry. It crept toward me, silent as mist, lips curled in a silent snarl. It knocked over bins, scattering garbage. I raised my baton, heart in my mouth. It paused, sniffed, then pressed a finger to its lips, a gesture I'll never forget. With that, it retreated, melded with the shadows. I shook the rest of my route, breath coming in short, hot pants. The whole neighborhood felt changed, tainted. Residents blamed wild dogs. I saw the security footage, those eyes, that face, that impossible gesture. I may never believe in legends, but I'll never walk alone again at night. The Witness Story 7. Name's Lal Barnes. I'm 56 and been on border patrol out west for half my life. Out in the desert, you see things, mirages, lights, wildlife you can't always explain, but you trust your instincts. Until instinct tells you to run. June, nearly midnight. The desert can fool you. One moment it's still, next moment alive with sound. I'd parked beside a dry creek, kicked dust off my boots, radio crackling behind me. Above, that same blood moon, creepy and swollen against a sky so clear it looked like glass. Air was thick with sage, gun oil, and something bitter like burnt hair. I swept my spotlight over the rocks, catching nothing but scorpions and the flick of a coyote's tail. Then the animals scattered, everything going silent except that soft crunch, heavy footsteps on brittle limestone. Swept my beam around. Saw nothing. Then, that smell, raw, wild, a predator's stink laced with decay. I knew I wasn't alone. Caught a glimpse high on the ridge, a silhouette, broad-shouldered, covered in tangled, sun-bleached fur. Not a mountain lion, not a bear. This thing stood upright, muscle and menace layered in shadow. Its head, a cross between wolf and man, jaws parted, tongue lolling, eyes yellow as headlights. They found mine with awful, deliberate calm. It dropped to all fours, scrambling with an unnatural speed, then rose again, impossibly tall. It mirrored every move I made. I walked backward, breath ragged. It matched, pacing sideways, closing the gap. It stopped suddenly, raised its nose, sniffed, then unleashed a howl so deep it quaked the dust at my feet. I drew my weapon, uselessly. It crouched, muscles rippling, lips peeling back in a wicked grin. Most don't believe it, call it shadows, heat stroke. But my dashcam caught it. Blurred, too big, too animal, too wrong. I don't patrol alone anymore. There's a new wariness in the men. The border isn't just a line on a map. Some nights, it's a boundary between what's real and what hunts. The Witness Story 8. I'm Jordan Fletcher, 24, youngest on the university security team. The campus is old, buildings from another era, trees that have seen more than I'll ever know. I never bought into ghost stories until the night the blood moon cut through the pines. Near finals week, campus deserted, the clock tower echoing every hour. I walked the inner paths, notebook in hand, breeze ruffling paper and stirring hidden things. The usual sound of laughter and late-night study sessions had vanished. Just my footsteps, dry leaves, and a metallic tang in the air, like iron or old pennies. Heard footsteps not my own. Paused. They paused. Shadow played tricks around ancient oaks, but the certainty of being followed was as real as my own breath. A sudden blast of wind carried something foul, like wet fur and rusty nails. At the edge of the library lawn, lamplight caught the shape. A beast hunched, arms longer than they should be, fur mottled gray and streaked with black. Its face half wolf, half something else, muzzle wrinkled in a snarl. It stood, sniffed, ears pinned back, gold eyes catching mine like a snare. It padded nearer, claws scraping brick, then stopped and lifted its head, almost as if listening to the bell. Then it made a sound, two sharp knocks against the tree, echoing my own footsteps from earlier. I stumbled back, breathing hard, notebook falling. It watched, crouched, then bounded silently into the dark, a blur erased by shadow. I gathered the notebook, hands shaking, skin crawling like spiders. Security footage caught a streak. Skeptics say dog, but I know that size. Sometimes at night, I still hear those footsteps, and I wonder if the blood moon calls them back. The Witness Story 9. Name's Ronnie Caldwell, 44, dock officer. You get used to oddballs and drifters. Nosferatu would blend right in. But nothing prepared me for what crept between containers that autumn night. Late October. Fog off the river, thick as soup. The grind of cranes and the slap of water, usually constant, faded into nothing. My partner called in sick, so I walked the yard alone, boots skidding on slick metal. The air hummed with electricity, the tang of seawater and the sharpness of engine oil. The sound came first, a heavy, wet shuffling behind a crate. I called out, voice too loud, silenced by panic. A putrid smell, sweet and rotten, rushed over me. From the gloom, something moved, up and over a shipping container with animal grace. The floodlights hit fur as black as the river at midnight, shoulders massive, claws scraping steel. Its face, half hidden under snarled hair, twisted, lips pulled back to reveal fangs bigger than any dog's. The eyes reflected red, filled with intent. It landed in front of me, silent for its size, and stood with unnatural poise. It sniffed, then imitated the radio static at my belt, a deep growl that sent ice through my core. As I backed away, it advanced, head low, as if deciding whether to pounce. Ran blind into the office, locked every door, sweating so hard it felt like rain. Later reviewed the tape. Massive shape, eyes lit up like sparks. Nobody laughs at my story around here anymore. The Witness Story 10. I'm Sarah Wiley, 47. Been doing night highway patrol in rural Montana longer than I can remember. Most nights are boring. Animals, drunks, overturned bikes. I never imagined the road itself would betray me. Late autumn, close to midnight. I drove, alone, headlights carving cold tunnels through acres of black nothingness. Frost glazed the grass. The blood moon loomed straight overhead, painting the world in angry gold. Had the window cracked, The air smelled of distant burning wood and that strange, musky odor, heavy like wet dog but sharper, bitter. Around mile marker 97, every station faded to static. The land grew quieter than death. That's when I felt it, like something pressed against my chest, a chill that wasn't wind. Stopped the cruiser, stepped out. My boot hit something slick, blood, or maybe just an oil patch. As I walked the shoulder, I heard a click behind me, then all sound vanished. Not even my own breath seemed real. Turned quick, flashlight up, and there it was, clear as day, towering over a fallen fence. Fur-soaked and dripping, dark as wet ash. The shoulders rippled, chest heaved with breath. Its face, long snout, jaw lined with yellowed fangs, ears pinned back like a mad dog. The eyes, silver, reflecting the moon, locked with mine. One hand clung to the fence, the other clawed at the gravel. Nothing moved like it. Stronger than a bear, sharper than any man. As it stepped into the light, I saw the torn police tape tangled around its foot. Something had happened here, something recent. It cocked its head and let out a rumbling, half-growled mimic of my own dispatch call. My heart hammered, knees went weak. It advanced slowly, deliberately, blocking every route back to my cruiser. I circled, it circled, eyes never blinking. Suddenly, it stopped, bent down, and ran a claw through the muddy dirt, spelling something, a line, and then a crude circle. I didn't wait to decipher. My feet found their own way. Locked myself in the car, hands shaking so hard I couldn't turn the key. The dashcam picked up blurry motion, too distorted, too massive for any local animal. For weeks after, nightmares gnawed at my sleep. People said the blood moon made monsters of men. I know better. Sometimes, the monsters are real, and they know just how to be seen. 10 officers, 10 stories, each one committed to duty, grounded in reality, and changed forever by what they saw beneath the blood moon. Some would call these tales just shadows, tricks of light, or flights of nerves. But beneath them runs a pattern, a scent, a sound, a primal fear. It's encounters like these that remind us how little we truly know about the wild places on our maps, and how fragile the border between myth and reality can be. Are we truly alone on our night watch? Or is something ancient, intelligent, and hungry stalking the edges of our world, waiting for us to slip beyond what we understand? If you or someone you know has faced the impossible, has seen something you can explain, share your story in the comments. Like, subscribe, and join the Nightbound Bloodline. We read every word, and your truth makes our world richer, more haunted, and less alone. This has been Nightbound Bloodline. Thank you for listening. Until next time, sleep with one eye open. The end.